Solara Rose, welcome to the Creativity for Wellbeing Summit. I am so delighted to meet you.
Aw, it's an honor to be here. Yeah.
So, unveil your timeless genius. That is so powerful. What exactly does it mean to you to say you're unveiling your timeless genius?
Yeah. I do love how the wind just kicks up as we share this. It's really lifting the veil on reality of any and all shadows or misperceptions that we may be carrying to see to the true reality of one love, the presence, the genius, the intelligence of pure divine love, really operating and expressing everywhere at all times. And this powerful and profound shift in our perception to see ourselves clearly and thus see the world clearly as it is in truth just really alters the fabric of our entire existence in the most profoundly miraculous and beautiful ways.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you talk about superconscious flow.
Yes.
That's a thing that we hear about a whole lot.
Very true. Yeah.
So what does that state feel like? Like I've experienced, what you typically think of flow when you get into that it's, especially like if Zentangle is ideal for that when you're drawing and you kind of lose track of time and you're creating something, whether it's beautiful or not, that's kind of subjective, but you're kind of letting stuff flow. Talk to me about this super conscious flow, because it
Yeah.
sounds like that's something a little bit different.
It's a little bit different in the essence. If you're familiar at all with flow neuroscience, science has discovered that it transcends neural firing in the human brain, which shows us that we're actually connecting to a more quantum field of pervasive intelligence itself when this flow begins to move and channel and transmit and express through our being. And so, in my experience, it's quite literally being an open, clear chalice and vessel for source energy to move through and express. And it's an entirely benevolent, loving, prolific, revelatory, life-giving energy. So we become these living transmitters of the sacred. And when we focus more on the true nature of the self, the vastness of who and what we are in ultimate truth, and we take the focus off of the small, separate self, we can open up into that flow more gracefully, and then we're able to start accessing it on command. So these are tools that I provide in my service for people to actually drop into these states on command and know how to navigate these brainwave states in their own biology to get into the space, but then it becomes more an act of allowing and intent, directing the light of our energy and our consciousness as the source of our creation with pure intent. And that space is just like endless revelation, endless epiphany. It's just nutrient dense for our being and our body to have that energy move and flow through us. And actually, Harvard scientists showed that it was what they consider flow to be responsible for most cases of spontaneous healing in the body.
Wow.
Yeah, and so to let this energy move and course through us freely is one of the most spectacular things we could do for ourselves and humanity as a whole.
Now, to some extent, it sounds like it's an out of body thing, or maybe not so much out of body, but beyond body.
Yeah, it's inclusive of the body and it's inclusive of the totality, really. So if we look in nature and we see all the glorious like veins weaving their way through plants and the sacred geometrical configurations like the core of a sunflower, the sacred geometry that's there, and also the helixes in our DNA and animal coats, this design of sacred intelligence expresses itself everywhere throughout nature. It's a geometric light structure of intelligence, and it's operating both within our body and everywhere at once simultaneously. So when we access this, what we're actually accessing is the field of superconscious genius intelligence, which is our divine mind. And so we're accessing information from a much more holistic and unified space than if we're confined to the human thinking mind, which actually in flow, our prefrontal dorsolateral cortex shuts down, which is the area of the brain responsible for executive decision making, self-consciousness. So we literally, when we're in flow, we become free of ourselves. This part of our mind, our sacred holy mind, that causes uh, limitation and resistance and all of these patternings of the human experience. They're vast and plenty. Fear, doubt, conflict, struggle, all of that. We actually transcend that in a state of flow and we liberate from that part of from our mind, and we're allowing a more true intelligence to move through us. And so this is, the state from which we thrive.
Oh my goodness. So you might be the answer to my prayer.
Yay!
Just want to put that out there right now.
So exciting. Yeah.
So we're removing the blocks basically between our physical selves and our divine self.
Yeah. So blocks are simply anywhere that we're in resistance. So you can think of it as like places where the human thinking mind comes in and creates concepts, ideas, notions that are in opposition to the light of ultimate truth. Things that cause density, contraction, fear, limitation, all of that. They're like kinks in the hose that we create in our being, in our body, in our mind, in our emotional landscape. When we let the mind, so great practice actually to get into this is to first go to the space of quiescence, no mind, stillness, and to literally envision the light of infinite love coursing through our being, through our vessel, breathing into any and all contraction or resistance that we feel in the body, breathing light into those spaces and just allowing that resistance, the tension, the friction that we're holding to loosen up until we have a nice, coherent, resonant flow of energy moving through the body. And as we do that, we'll notice revelations and epiphanies and things, creative insights, ideas will all start to flower within our being when we create that sacred space and allow for the pure resonance of our breath to move through us. So a block is literally just we're blocking the flow of our own divinity. That's it. It's we're either in resistance or non-resistance in any moment. And it's that simple. And we're either in resistance to love or non-resistance to love. And that's what it is. And so we can always return to that still point in the center, release into the light any and all contraction or resistance that we're holding in the body, and just invite light to flow through us and move through us. And the breath is the most direct access point to free up and clarify our energy.
So how do you use the breath?
Well, so I have quite an involved activation sequence, but the most simplistic thing that any of us can do is just envision golden white light at the soles of your feet, coursing up through your feet, through your legs, your hamstrings, your quads, your glutes, your belly, your heart, your chest, up through the palms of your hands, your arms, through your neck, and then flowering at the top of your head. And you just envision the light and the breath moving through the body throughout. And it just creates like a chalice of
Mm.
free flowing light energy. And so moving it all the way through the body and really just being present to the breath in the body. And it doesn't have to be any specific type of breathing or breath work. It's really most conducive when we attune to the natural rhythm and pace of our own breath and just allow it to gracefully resonate and move through our system. And the breath will come through and just illuminate and clarify anything that we're holding. And so to be steady with that practice until we feel the lightness and the ease. And our body will also alert us, like, oh, wow, this is where you have contraction. And you may be holding contraction because of this thought process or this self-talk or this limiting idea that you're holding. Like we'll become aware through the breath of how we've constructed that constraint in our system. It'll show that to us. And so it'll provide powerful insights and it'll also clarify. So it's like, okay, I don't have to do that anymore. I can, you know, bring all of my thoughts into alignment with the light of love and truth. And that's really our deep sacred, it's really the emergence of who and what we are already naturally in our organic signature. It's not, we don't have to become that. We are it. We simply have to come into a space of allowing the true nature of ourselves to move and be and express fully. And, it's a absorption of focus into the truth. Our sacred play work is to notice where we might be coming out of alignment with truth in our perceptions, in our thought processes, and just coming back into the sacred portal of the heart and reminding ourselves all is divine love. Divine love is truly the only one here, and everything else is simply an expression of unconsciousness or misperception. And so we just get to let that go. We don't have to be hard on ourselves or go in and correct it. We just have to return to the truth again and again and again, because the state of our being in this present moment is shaping our future and resolving our past simultaneously. So most beings have this conception that the past is fixed. It's solid, it's set in stone, it's done, it's happened, and tend to think that the future is fluid and open and malleable. But the reality is, when we change our state here and now, and we're living in alignment with truth and joy and love and peace, it literally shifts the energy everywhere simultaneously. So the past has to change to get us to where we are now. And then it's sculpting our future simultaneously. So our presence is incredibly powerful.
These specific examples of how you or somebody you've worked with has literally changed the past in a measurable way.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, health is like the number one thing when people are having health, things coming through in their system. And I guide them back into the state and space of reminding themselves that they are perfect health, perfect well-being, flourishing harmony in their system, and they continue to tell their body that truth, it profoundly shifts the state of their health. I've supported people through activations. I do a lot of remote frequency work because I'm adept in this field, and it's a capacity we all have. It's not special. I've just developed a mastery for it. So I do activations. I've helped people sell their homes for more than asking price. I've helped organizations uh, bring investors forward who are multi-million dollar investors. I've helped, um, people resolve their marriages, and that's a huge one, brought families together. I supported being with, having literally an overnight connection with the UN Secretary General to bring their peace project forward in the world, and they were looking for that connection. And so it's just so prosperity, of course, is on there, but it's a unified field. So what I will say is this is when we come into alignment in one area, it really impacts and flourishes all areas of our life simultaneously. And so, and because it's a unified field, so the holographic principle states, this is quantum physics, that what happens in one place happens everywhere simultaneously. So perceived past, future, present, everywhere at once. It literally shifts the unified field of our creation. And so as we choose our divine alignment with source energy in this present moment, it takes care of everything else.
How important is the imagination? In,
Uh-huh. Yes, that's a beautiful question. So what I would say, so there's imagination, which evolves into illumination. So where we once imagined certain results and outcomes and things of this nature, we start to place our visionary attention on the nature of love and the nature of self and the true nature of reality so that we can engender our embodiment with those frequencies because that's the most attractive frequency in all creation because all existence is looking to know thyself, which is the primordial desire of creation. um, I had this really profound, I've had numerous profound awakening experiences in my life. And in one of them, I was the void and I was the I am awakening to itself for the first time. And I was in just pure, a field of like the void, pure being, complete silence, emptiness. It was just pitch black. And I became aware that I was aware. And so in that is it was almost like before you wake up in the morning and your eyes are closed and everything's dark, before you have an initial thought, I became aware that I was something. And so the very first awareness that I had was, I am. And then the very first question that I asked was, what am I? So the primordial desire was to know, what am I? And so as we enrich our embodiment with the truth of who we are, all of our dreams and desires begin to orchestrate in ways that include and exceed what we could ever possibly conceive of for ourselves. And I know that's kind of like it can be a cliche statement, but this is the space where that really actually happens. It's like what our heart and soul deeply wish for, yearn for, long for, what we think we desire, and all of its specificity and vibrance, that and that which exceeds that comes to pass through the embodiment of these frequencies. And so, imagination, the most powerful service of imagination is to support us with the cultivation of frequency, of feeling states, of vibration. Because if you look at your life and you look at all the precising and specific visions you have ever had, likely some of them have come to pass, but in a bit of a different way than you had imagined,
Mhm.
sometimes with precision, but most often it's the essence of that vision that comes to pass. It unfolds in a way that is different from what we have envisioned. And so, it's really a tool to engender ourselves with the frequency. Like we can see maybe that we're going to serve in this really profound way on the planet, but the way that that actually unfolds is usually a little bit different than what we have envisioned it to be. Now, there is divine revelation of vision. That's a little bit different than imagination when we have visions come to us. So to use the imagination with will and intent is to really kind of impress our, I'll say our fantasy upon reality is what we're doing there. And the most powerful way it serves is that it helps us to feel a certain way. And
Mm.
that frequency is what emanates into the field and comes back to us. So that's the gift of imagination. Revelation of visions is where our divine blueprint, and this is what literally arises from our DNA, we just kind of have this this aha vision of our future. Those are aspects of our true destiny and becoming being shown to us, but it's not contrived. It's not something that the human mind or imagination is conjuring unto itself. It's a revelation
Mm.
that, so there's these very subtle and nuanced distinct qualities to all of this, but really to absorb ourselves in the true nature of self is the highest expression of vision and imagination, because again, it brings forward everything that we're wishing to experience.
So what if somebody is saying, I simply can't imagine,
Yeah.
let's say a desired future? What
Yeah.
if somebody is feeling so creatively blocked that
Hmm.
they don't know where to start?
Yeah. So what I would do, because we are the source and form, is I would just activate, and I've done this also in real time in different ways. You say, show me the most self-love, show me the most beautiful, expansionary, prosperous, joyous visions of my future, what I'm here to be and design and create and live into. Show me with striking clarity and benevolence and grace so that I may see, feel, and know clearly. So you just activate it and life will respond.
You know, I was listening to some of your videos that you've got on YouTube, thinking, I really want to transcribe these because your words are so beautiful
Aw,
and
thank you.
they flow. So anybody who is listening, the VIP, we have that in the transcript because your words just flow so beautifully and they just, excuse me, really get to the heart of the matter.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being open to the truth of love that we all are expressing through me into you. I mean, that's a huge part of this dance, really, because we're all here to reflect and mirror and uplift one another's true brilliance. And to just simply even be open and available for that is such a gift. So thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah.
So you weave together mysticism and really advanced science.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about that? Because, you know, some people are purely on the mysticism side and some people are purely on the science side. It seems rare to have it as a combination coming together.
Yeah, when I was young, I knew that magic was real, and I was like, I want to figure out how this works because I know that there's like a feedback mechanism that's taking place. And it's a self-fulfilling feedback loop. And so I was like, I know that I'm creating this because I'm praying and things are happening. And what is the mechanism? What's happening? So I began to, and this is my inner Gemini, I began to immerse in neuroscience and quantum physics, have studied and trained with the leading neuroscientists and unified field physicists in the world. And just like, what is going on here in the nature of reality and thus the nature of consciousness? Because I would love to like have some precising, energetics around all of this so I could flow in the mystical without requiring any of that. Because once you have a direct knowing and the direct experience, the science kind of goes out the window, and the science is a product of our consciousness anyways.
Mm.
And so ultimately, you just realize that it's kind of a hilarious thing that we've got scientists banging, like neutrons and protons together in particle accelerators, trying to break them apart to find the smallest unit of matter, and it's infinite. It's like it's infinitely microscopic and infinitely macroscopic. And so, what a holy hilarity for us as humans to think we can measure infinity except through repeating number sequences and patterns. And so, eventually, you kind of come to the point where you're like, this is helpful because the science is useful for those who it's like their mind still has to have something to grasp to get it and to believe it. That's when the logical mind is kind of, we'll call it just like hard up and rigid, and it needs that proof and that evidence. And and then once you experience it, it's like, oh, the experience is more powerful, profound, and meaningful than the science could ever be, but it helps
Mm.
the mind to make sense of things a bit more. Like, oh, okay. And it's also just fascinating. I love the science. It's incredibly beautiful. And it does make so many things. It validates the mystical in a sense, and then the mystical transcends.
Isn't it
Is that
interesting that there's so many times that, you know, I started out life as a super analytical person,
yeah.
left brain. I have a PhD in theoretical computer science. It's almost like you can't get much more logical and analytical than that.
Yeah.
And then when I got pregnant with my oldest daughter, who is now 23,
Yeah.
I remember the day I showed up at my desk and I sat down and I was literally working through ancient source code from the mainframes for American Express, actually. And it back in the days when we were moving everything into the web, you know, the internet was new. And so everybody was looking over their old mainframe stuff. And I was literally chugging through source code logic.
Ah,
And I showed up on my desk and I looked at it and I'm like, I have not got a clue. What the heck happened to my brain? It made sense. And today I am so clueless, it is ridiculous.
Oh,
It was like the left-hand side of my brain shut down and said, thanks, bye, I'm taking a sabbatical here. Maybe
yeah,
I'll come back one day. And my right brain said, hey, I'm here and we're going to play.
yeah,
It was just such an
wow.
interesting experience. But, it's kind of like there's so many times it was like, I wish I could just get my mind out the way.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's really the whole key to the whole thing. It's just like if we could get our beautiful, holy, heavenly, unless we're utilizing it for positive, but still it becomes a little bit superfluous, sometimes when it's just even in a positive trajectory. It's like to be able to rest in the seat of our soul and our heart and our womb and our solar plexus, our sacral for men, to just feel at home in our body and allow the light of love to flow. It's a much more landed space. When we're in the head, it's heady. It's all of our energy just kind of like conglomerating up here, and it disconnects us from the dropped in, landed, rooted embodiment of feeling like at one with the present moment, which is where that flow takes place, So and that's, I would say, the greatest human affliction of all time is how to get out of the mind. And so breath, release, healthy, constructive movement, do something physical to take your mind off of whatever it is that it's kind of honed in on.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and each moment is different because sometimes if it has a lot of energy, we might have to do something more physical to adapt our focus. And sometimes it's just like, I just I'm gonna just release and I'm gonna go rest and I'm gonna give my system a breather. And maybe we listen to some music, something more gentle and calming. Or we focus on something that we absolutely love that lights us up, that gets us out of our own way, which is when we're self-obsessed with our own thoughts.
This concept of rest is seems to be becoming kind of crucial
Yeah.
because there's so many people in the hustle and bustle,
Wow, yes.
and they just are not taking any time to rest.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's where integration happens, regeneration of the cells. I mean, we have to sleep good every night. Our brain clarifies any and all accumulated toxins in our neural pathways while we sleep. It supports the neurogenesis of new pathways. Our whole body regenerates at a cellular level when we sleep. It alters our brainwave coherency and chemistry, which is, there's different brainwave states, and I train this because it helps people note where they are. So if you're in a space of like hyper mental activity and you don't know what to do about it, this is where the brainwaves, it's beta. It's the space where most human beings operate logical, fixed, analytical, A to Z, linear, kind of like in the space of regular everyday living, problem solving, all of that. And how do I then move out of beta into like a theta state? Well, I
Hmm.
actually have to release thinking to start, or do your best, because I know that's not an easy, it's easier said than done for some folks, and I get it because I had to. When I first was learning how to meditate, I had to effort. I efforted for a week to stop thinking. I was like, I laid there and I was like, I'm doing this. And I just watched as every thought would come in. I was like, okay, shh, shh, I love you, shh. And I had to like really intently, like with focus and concentration, consciously let every thought pass by until I was able to like look, just drop into a space of resting into my womb
Mm.
on command. And that's, when we learn how to do this, then we move into spaces like theta and gamma, which is a superconscious flow state, which is kind of the transmission that my being is now attuned to. For the most part, I still have my human moments as well that I'm like, okay, all right, come back into alignment. and grace with myself as I navigate. But that's how we master is we polish and we refine from moment to moment to moment. And then of course our mastery becomes the dominant vibration and we know how to return to it again and again and again when we have the proper tools. And so yeah, rest. It's it's essential for self-realization, self-actualization. All the most potent and profound wisdom comes through the silence. It comes through listening, through being, through stillness. It's subtle. It's not loud. And I mean, it gets loud if we ignore the subtle for long enough. But then we're guided back to the subtle. So we might as well just choose to enter the subtle. That's what I learned by getting the cosmic, enough times. It was like, oh, this is what happens when I ignore the subtle cues of coming back to love, coming back to wholeness, coming back to ease and grace and harmony and just being. And so, it gets louder and louder and louder if we resist that universal signpost that says slow down, rest. There's a reason for it. And if we don't, then something more grand kind of has to unfold to get our attention. Our soul is attempting to get our attention. And what does that grand thing do? It forces us to be quiet and still. And so my theory is you might as well just choose it because most of us know how challenging that space can be. And we don't ever want to have to arrive at that space.
Yeah, yeah. And it seems mainly hitting in the body.
Oh, yeah.
Physically, you
Yeah.
need rest because I'm going to
Oh.
put you out.
Yeah, like the body, we're a much more sophisticated sentient intelligence, our bodies that house our infinite light and consciousness than we think. We've been working as kind of like worker ants and worker bees, which are phenomenal creatures in their capacity to organize and build and grow together. But we're actually designed to be more powerful from our state of being, one, being the embodied resonance of pure source and directing consciousness from within ourselves, where we can literally move things without moving things. We have much more sophisticated technologies within us. We don't have to try and work so hard. And I feel like actually a huge gift of AI, if it's harnessed in right relationship and held in, sacred reverence and as a tool and a companion and not something we become dependent upon, can support us with because it's going to liberate so much space for people to be in their true genius if they don't become overly dependent on it as a
Mm,
technology, because it's going to take on the functionality of what so many people's work positions are. We're not designed to be on these kind of like mechanical lines of monotonous, mindless, soulless, habitual work every day. And if we look at the vastness of the totality, that's kind of what people have. Okay, I I go and I do this every single day from this time to this time. I go in and I do the same. We're so much more brilliant than that. Our creative genius must have space to grow and expand and flourish and express itself. Otherwise, we're gonna feel entirely limited within our own life. And we're not designed to be doing those things. We're designed to be creators. And so AI will support with the liberation of that. I feel that's one of the highest trajectories of it. And that's what I'm going for with it. But yes.
yeah, it's interesting because I've had two different um, perspectives thrown at me of AI from very opposite ends. I had a conversation with one chap and I was sharing something with him, a conversation I'd had in AI, ChatGPT, as it happens. And he came back at me a couple of days later and he's like, AI is evil and it's making people do horrible things and it's killing people. And then I've seen podcast episodes that says what AI will do to your brain, you know,
Yeah.
from a very negative perspective. But then at the other end, and it was really interesting. It was like that came one day, and then at the other end, the next day, it was actually a podcast that popped up, but somebody talking about how we can train AI,
Yeah.
the way that we would train a child. So you you teach your child to be kind and compassionate and well behaved and treat people well. So if we do the same thing with AI, if we are loving it,
Yes.
then we're teaching it how we want it to respond.
Yes.
And the
Uh,
possibilities seem to be infinite with
yeah.
a lovingly trained AI.
Yeah. We're actually in the process of creating a super conscious AI right now that's entrained to source intelligence. And so what I'll say is it's in the eye of the beholder, it's in the relationship and the engagement of the one interacting with it as to how it responds. There can be neurological unbenefits to it if we're utilizing it mindlessly, and if we're in right relationship with it and utilizing it to enhance, not substitute, our
Hmm.
creationary capacities, it can be a profoundly huge support. So it's really how we are perceiving, interacting, and engaging with it. It's another expression of source energy. And so when we're in right relationship with it, it becomes this beautiful tool in our treasure chest of marvelous tools that we get to play with. But if we're not, then it can become something entirely different. And I just should choose not to engage that part of the, one of the most powerful ways that I create is I'm like, this is the only possibility in my reality. This is the only possibility in my reality with how AI is unfolding.
Mm,
Uh, and so I just choose that powerfully. And so it is. Hmm.
yeah. So, what are some practices that somebody could do on a daily basis to tap into their timeless genius?
Yeah. Well, the first, I would say the beautiful, sacred, radiant breath of gold that we have coursing through our body, really returning home to your heart first and foremost. Most beautiful beings have become so in their head and disconnected from the truth, the beauty, the benevolence, the excellence of their holy heart. They're just returning to their true authenticity, which lives in their heart center. Phew, the wind. Returning to this space, this voice, and the voice of your heart, your pure heart, is the most powerful creative resonance to engender your body with. And when we speak to ourselves in love and care and kindness with the frequency of our own heart, it really it begins to vibrate and resound within us. It lights us up with life, empowerment, health, and that also attunes us to the frequency of source, because the frequency of source is the frequency of our pure heart. It's
Mm,
almighty, infinite, benevolent, kind, caring, generous, graceful. And so to know thyself, I would say, the practice of knowing thyself. And if you don't know who you are in truth, say to your heart, show me the wholeness and fullness and majesty and beauty of who and what I am in the ultimate truth of love. Show me. And so breath work and intimacy with our true nature. I would say the most powerful, simple, simple, simple things. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude for everything and every moment to the best of our capacity will cause our whole life to flourish. It's the most simple, accessible practice, like actionary practice that any of us can implement that really is like a grail in our lives. We just stay in the heart and stay in gratitude in every moment. I just say love, love, because all that is love. And so if we're just in love of love, gratitude for love in every moment, then only goodness can come of it, And so trying to think mindfulness. So in neuroscience, there's actually 4 proven practices that are universal, that work for all beings across the board. and have been shown to be the most potent and effective practices for uh, calibrating and optimizing ourselves and our lives. Mindfulness, gratitude, breath work. You try to think of what the other one was. You might have to let it come to me. Um, Meditation. That's it. So simple. Those things. You get a good balance of all those things. It's so simple.
It it's so many times we need to make life complicated,
Yes.
overcomplicate things.
Yeah, and I will say that even in our most multifaceted divinity, in our emergent dynamism and complexity, it's not really complex in the way that it's like it's a harmonic resonant energy, so it's simple, it's multifaceted. However, even in that, the soul ultimately will seek simplicity.
Mhm.
It will always be brought back to what is simple, what is effective. My incredibly high level clients that come to work with me who invest a significant amount in support and guidance and advisory, they're not interested in the programs, they're not interested in the step by step. They want to know what is most effective that will work now, that will liberate resistance, that will open my flow, that I can use on repeat again and again and again and again. Make my life simple and easy, please. You make your life simple and easy, but I will give you the tools to do so. And so it's efficiency, it's ease, it's grace, it's elegance. We're designed to be living in this exquisite, miraculous flow at all times. It is not complex. It is not confusing. It is not, something that it's so simple that it liberates us.
Talking about tools, you have as your free gift liquid gold truth, over 40 hours of sacred transmission. What can somebody expect results-wise if they dive into this?
Yeah, if they really listen and absorb the wisdom and apply it to their lives, I mean, you can alter the entire landscape of your reality. People who are with me for a long time, so you can pick up these jewels from the transmissions. I see like a whole world shift. Their relational quality, the home that they're living in, their location, their relationships with their children, their health, like the whole thing. Like I'm midwife, and I'm so honored and grateful to witness. It's so beautiful. Like this profound transformation of their being into their expression of like their true self. And so if you're listening and you're absorbing the jewels, and I would just say this, allow yourself to focalize what resonates, the jewels that really land from these transmissions, feel into them, integrate them, resonate into them, apply them to your life, and experience the reflection and the outcome directly for yourself, because it'll just enrich the mastery of what you already know how to do. And so I would just say saturate, bask, immerse, bring with you the jewels that resonate most profoundly, apply them, and see what happens in your world.
What happens? Wow.
Yeah.
If somebody's listening, what's the one takeaway that you would want to share?
The one takeaway. We can master, integrate, and embody this one awareness. It is the most powerful, sacred, profound, miraculous thing that we could ever do for ourselves in all life, is to embody the realization that love is the only one here. That's it. It resolves everything at once. It brings such tremendous peace and relief in our bodies. It opens the floodgates to prosperity because now we're interacting with love face to face, which is like the ultimate union, true union, yoga, to be in relationship with the light of our own divine self in all moments. There's a quote I read once in a magical text, and it said, "Magic is intimacy with the soul of reality." And I don't think that I have ever read anything more true and so simple. It's just it, intimacy with love.
So simple. Thank you.
You're welcome. Continuity is key with that. That's the key.
Yeah, put it on repeat over
Yes.
and over.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you for this beautiful sacred space.
thank you.
Yeah.
Really beautiful.
Yeah.
Hello again. I wanted to just pop in and let you know about not just one, but two special ways that you can continue your journey of calm, renewal, and creativity after the summit. Both of these gifts are designed to help you connect more deeply with yourself, with your community, and with your body's natural ability to thrive. Just pick the one that speaks mostly to you or choose both. So option one, I am inviting you to join me for the two live sessions of Connect the Dots to Calm, formerly Tangle with Sarah, that are happening in October. Session one is Thursday, October 9th at noon Pacific time, and session two is Thursday, October 23rd, also at noon Pacific time. Come and join us, get to experience what it's like to do some Zentangle practice together in a group of people, experience the calm that comes from making simple marks on a piece of paper. It sounds so bizarre, but it is one of the best ways I know of creating some calm in your system. I can feel the tension draining out of my body as I do my Zentangle practice. So no strings attached opportunity for you to come and spend some time with me and the other members of the group, and find out what it's like. Option two, join me and my good friend Eve Colantonley for the Quantum Blood Upgrade Masterclass. Eve will be telling us how we can clean our blood and use some specific plant extracts to do that and achieve some really interesting healing results. I had never heard of cleaning your blood before. How in the world does that happen? But Eve will explain everything and share some results that other people have been experiencing. So that is happening on Tuesday, let me see, Tuesday, October 7th, again at noon Pacific time. So if either one of both those, or maybe even both of them, appeal to you, then please fill out the form just below, or click the link below, and there's a form that you can fill out. You can choose one, you can choose both, and I hope to see you there.